Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on GBC News. This is News Hour. I am Winifred Efum. Government this afternoon will begin negotiations on the demand for organized labor for a 20% cost of living allowance COLA. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is also meeting labor unions in an effort to resolve all matters related to their demand. An economist, Mr. Emmanuel Dakwa, joins us on phone. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Leah.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Right. What's your view on the demands by organized labor for the 20% cost of living allowance demand?
Come
I'm asking what your views about the demands of unions are, the labor unions, what the demands are.
Yes. Thank you very much. It is a known fact that cost of living has gone economically,
right,
because of domestic and external pressure, which affects it, and then prices are also good. And hence, it is a step in the right direction. But the big question is, as government going to start to the demand of the labor? I must admit that these are very, very tough moments for government. Government is having some challenges in terms of the fiscal, and hence the business government is able to meet the demand of labor. Even as some labor unions are right and others also this year go to vote in that line. So that is a great thing that so it's a step in the right direction in terms of demand by the business government to satisfy these demands. Hence they have to negotiate to see what government can offer them. Of this crisis.
Right. Your voice is a bit muffled for me, so if you can reposition yourself. But I want to ask you, what are your expectations as they go into this meeting?
I expect that government first of all to be transparent with the labor, to tell them what the current state of the system are, and what is government commitment in this crucial moment to meet the demands of labor. Because labor has a very legitimate point demand that because of the high cost of living in our country. But even if government is not going to meet them 20%, what can government afford? And more importantly, what can government budget accommodate? In the 2022 budget, government earmarked to spend about 35 billion Ghana on compensation to government employees. Now, going forward into the next fiscal year, government will accommodate maybe now 5 billion or 1.6 billion. That is something that government should be able to, with negotiating with the labor union, to let them know what the characters are. And also school transparency and also good things. I think it's very, very fundamental in this.
But Mr. Dakwa, has government been proactive enough?
Well, government, you know, the fundamental problem government is having challenge fiscally. And so, in meeting their demands, it boils down with what government has done. But I remember in March, government has to come up with some policy, how government is. Government itself is cutting down some expenditure items. Do not know how it has gone with this, announcement. I think these are things that government should put labor unions and think that we must, this is what we put forward to them. They put this X amount of money and it is going to this investment. So that the labor unions will literally be in a fiscal crisis. And maybe more importantly, our government has given the IMF. Because you should know that an IMF program, typical from the strategy, to look at the budget on your fiscal, and then look at your next season, those kind of employment. You have the fees on employment and the amount you spend on government. So those are things that will come up at the discussion table when government sees the IMF. And so government should be able to communicate as such labor and know the current big waste of our hands.
I'm happy you mentioned IMF, because my next question would have been, is it the right time to even discuss these labor issues considering where Ghana stands now with the IMF? But is there an end in sight for these labor issues to be solved?
It is all about starting from the business. So in 2010, government implemented the single finance strategy. What has government done after the implementation of those finance strategy, whereby we can mark productivity, how much we are doing in these local service. And I think this is something that we should to look at the discussion. Are labor unions or are government employees being paid rightly? If they are not, what productivity are they also offering to come? So that we have a fair discussion about whether we are paying them the right amount of money. When we go to some countries, even in Africa, some countries, especially Rwanda, government workers are paid a commensurate to like private sector, but it's not like that in our country. But we also have to answer the question about productivity. So I think beyond this conversation, the question should be, what is labor bringing forth? Are they having value in mind? And let's have a candid conversation about labor.
Right. Mr. Dakwa, times are hard, obviously, for everyone. And this discussion seems to be around public service and the labor unions. And then in another vein, we have the private sector workers. Are we not leaving them out of these discussions? And how can government also mitigate for everybody to also feel the impact when the COLA is granted?
Well, in terms of their employers, the private sector workers also see that they are not getting a lot from their employers. They will also have because obviously they also get the same market that public sector workers go to. And so when we look at around 28%, they also feel the print. So they will also have to appeal to their employers for COLA or whatever allowance to give them this high inflation.
But do you foresee labor unions coming down on their stance a bit on the 20% they are demanding? That would be my final question to you.
Definitely, it's all about government being frank and transparent with the labor union. Telling them that, yes, of course, I know you will have every legitimate right to demand for an increase in your salary, but this is the current social position of our country. So this is how much we can afford. And government itself has to show good faith. What is government doing for the public to also know that the government is cutting down on expenditure? And I expect that this is the time that we will be having discussion about maybe starting or reviewing gracia, reviewing salaries of some people, enterprise, CEOs, and those kind of things. So that government knows that, the people also know that, in terms of crimes, everybody is trying to cut their food according to their cloth. Either that labor will think that, government is living in luxury. I expect that the labor people, government workers keep on living on their bigger salaries. So it's all about government also saying good faith in negotiation.
Right. Hopefully there would be a consensus this afternoon. Thank you so much, sir. That has been Mr. Emmanuel Dakwa, an economist. The Public Services Workers Union is asking the government to bail out its members as the decision to accept a 7% salary increment for the year 2022 had been thrown out of gear by the rising costs of living. Speaking on GTV Breakfast, the National Chairman of Public Services Workers Union, PSW, Mr. Ken Chenebua Kodria, said they are also asking for 20% cost of living allowance to cushion them temporarily while they get to the salary negotiation table. He said if government did not respond to their call, all 65 public institutions with over 27,000 workers would lay down their tools.
What we are asking for now is as a result of the inflationary effect on our wages. Inflation has hovered now above 30%. So the assumption that it will be around 8% to cushion our income is no more existent. So all we are saying is that as a result of that, our income is eroded. Cost of living is barely unsustainable, from fuel to food to rent to kids' school fees, clothing, everything has tripled in terms of prices. What has remained constant is the already meager salary of the public servant. So what we are asking for at this level is a cost of living allowance to cushion us. It cannot restore us to the value of our income, but at least it can give some relief to the worker.
Since you've been in charge, what have been the challenges? Why have we not still seen the kind of changes we want to see?
Okay, what we have not done much as leaders is to come out to our members and tell them what we've been doing at the back. There's been series of talking, negotiations with the government on these welfare issues. Except that because it's not materialized, you can't come out and tell workers that this is what we are doing. But as I said, TUC and PSW, we've always believed in social dialogue. Talking. So I can tell you that there are things that we are discussing in the boardroom on the welfare of the employee. That is independent of the salary negotiation that we come up publicly to announce.
Another important issue on our radar this afternoon is the food shortages in senior high schools. And senior high schools, we have been told, are expected to receive food supplies latest by close of today. The Minister for Education, Dr. Yawose Duchum, gave the assurance during a meeting with the leadership of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, last week. Charles warned that senior high schools might soon shut down if the government failed to supply them with adequate foodstuffs to feed students. Let's now make contact with our regional correspondent. Mutala Issa joins us from the northern region. Mutala, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you confirm if schools in the northern region have received their food supplies?
I have visited various senior high schools within the Tamale metropolis and the Sanarivo municipality, and there is no food supplied to them anytime up to around midday when I left most of these schools to report for Radio Ghana at once.
What are the students feeding on then?
So they have a few items left. What I am learning from sources within these schools is that some of the schools have a shortage of up to about 17 items. In some cases, there's no rice, there's no sugar, there's no bread. And so there are schools that feed their students on sugarless porridge, sometimes breakfast, lunch, and supper. Some of the headmasters have also taken the initiative and have gone to town and have been able to beg to some of the suppliers to give them a few bags of these supplies to come and feed their students. But I am told that this is on hand-to-mouth basis. They go in today, they feed their children, the next day they have to go back and do same. And it has become quite challenging for these heads.
Have you witnessed any of the schools, their dining time and what the children were eating, the students were eating, if I should put it like that?
Unfortunately, no. But I did receive some audio recordings of parents expressing concern about some footages that their children have sent them. In one particular incident, a parent claimed in an audio recording making the rounds on WhatsApp in the northern region that the son said they drank cocoa morning, afternoon, evening without sugar and without bread. And it is quite challenging. I must indicate that in some of the schools I visited, some of the students were writing exams, and this has made things quite difficult for them.
And what plans have authorities put in place, if you know?
Well, the headmasters are not willing to speak on record, but basically what they are saying is that they are begging. There's no alternative plan because they have visited the same suppliers too many times, just begging them to give them food. And so it has become sometimes even shameful to go back to the same person, begging without money and urging them to just give them food to go back and feed their children. Some of the schools, for example, if you go to Tabasco, they have over 3,000 students. So it is quite a difficult one. I also know that a few months back, Tabasco, for example, one of the former students, Ibrahim Mahama, of engineers and planners, brought in a truckload of food supplies. As we speak, I am told that that is completely depleted. They have had to depend on that over the last few months, and that is completely gone now. And so the school is looking at the air, hoping that the ministry will fulfill its pledge.
Right, and the assurance is by close of day. So hopefully, put your ears and to the ground, and when you have any updates, please let us know. Thank you, Mutala. And Kingsley Nanabuedu joins us from the Central Region. Kingsley, how dire is the situation in the Central Region?
Well, thank you very much. When it comes to the Central Region, it is not different from what the report is talking from many of my colleagues here. Here in the Central Region, many of the schools are also facing the same thing. I must indicate that the managers of these schools, especially the big ones, are having a head of time. But of course, they say they are managers, so that's what they are saying. I am currently at the Sports Stadium where almost most of the schools are here, that is senior high school, having games. I've been speaking with some of the students, and what they are telling me is something else. Some tell me that when they even go for dining today, some eggs come down without eating sugar. And that has been the situation. When you are going for dining, you need to go with your sugar, even sugar. Let's talk about milk and the rest of the bread. And what the quantity and the quality of it, they tell me is something else. Interestingly, you get some of the big schools, the so-called big schools, that of course their parents are supporting one way or the other. But even that, it's been difficult for the managers this time because of the creators and the conditions that are attached to it. Even when they are supporting, it's a way. So they are not able to open up. But these are open secrets that we in the region know that is very difficult for the managers. And some parents, some rich ones are supporting one way or the other. As I speak with you, I know parents that sometimes cook something from Kumasi, the Rapid, and anything needs to be given some of their children either in fantasy or any of the schools. So that is the reality.
But Kingsley, do you know if officially any partnership exists between the schools and the Parents Teachers Association? And if there is, how are they pitching in apart from individually giving foodstuffs to their children in the school?
Yes, definitely there is, but they will not disclose it because some of the parents are also want to do. They don't want that. The don't want any issue that somebody will come and tell them that they are taking money from parents. That of course, but some parents themselves understand. You know, one of the days when these schools, there's a caliber of parents that bring their students there. This time around, it's not like that. It's mixed. So you will get some a group of parents agreeing to say something, and you will get some also complaining. So it's some difficult for them to. So they are managing it. So those that can support it, they do. Okay. But there has not been official cut out whatever rule that they say something. But they put it inside other things that they themselves know without letting us know what exactly they say. But I've spoken with the teacher, and he tells me that some of them are anticipating a supply either today or tomorrow from the buffer stock of their suppliers. So it seems a good news yesterday.
Right, Kingsley, we hope that when we call you again, the story will be different. Thank you so much for your report.
Exactly.
Great. Now, as part of efforts to improve community philanthropy across the globe, the West Africa Civil Society Institute and Star Ghana Foundation are engaging key players as civil society organizations face a global decline in donor funding. Participants explored strategies which can help mobilize resources internally and externally to improve the quality of life in various communities across the globe.
Civil society often struggles with dependence on donor funding, which hinders sustainability, distracts them from their missions, and encourages a short-term strategy of chasing funds. This makes local fundraising activities and mobilizing a strong local support base more important than ever. For this reason, 8 countries are collaborating to implement the Giving for Change program to help promote community development across the globe. The Giving for Change project covers 8 countries in Africa, Asia and South America. It is a 5-year project which started 18 months ago, funded by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Executive Director of Global Fund for Community Foundation, Ms. Jenny Hodgson, said the program seeks to empower communities and therefore all must embrace it.
All communities have assets and resources and knowledge and networks, and that these need to be the starting point for any kind of successful, sustainable development.
The Executive Director of Star Ghana Foundation, Mr. Ibrahim Tanko Amidu, called on government to support the program by allocating adequate funds for rural communities.
Government can also support, local resource mobilization through creating an enabling environment. We might even want to look at a match fund that maybe a community that is able to raise maybe 60% of the cost of a project might get 5%, of the money from a government source.
Launched in 2021, Giving for Change program seeks to transform communities by promoting local giving as a strategy for achieving community-led development.
For information, Mr. Kojo Ponkroma says the global economic challenges call for the deepening of collaborative efforts by governments and the private sector to provide the needed antidote. He made this remark at the handing over ceremony of the District 9102 of the Rotary International held in Accra.
For the next Rotary year 2022-2023, Mr. Victor Asante, who has been inaugurated into office as the Governor of Rotary International District 9102, comprising Ghana, Benin, Niger and Togo, would lead the activities of the global humanitarian organization in the 4 countries which have more than 120 clubs and over 3,000 members. Mr. Asante, a member of the Rotary Club of Accra Ring Road Central, was nominated by his club and selected to take over from immediate past Governor Rufin Lima Kwenum of Benin. The handing over ceremony brought together Rotarians and other personalities to celebrate as well as raise funds to assist deprived communities in line with the organization's agenda.
The past 17 years or so have been one of fulfillment and discovery. The fulfillment that who serves the most profits the most. And the discovery that I do love volunteerism, especially when it involves children.
The Minister for Information, Kojo Ponkroma, commended Rotary for its humanitarian interventions and said that with the current socio-economic challenges in the country, Rotary International should strengthen ties with government for more impact.
We're called to a time to imagine Rotary, to imagine a world in which we build better collaborations to deliver value to our people. And I believe that in your tenure, as we dream some more, we can build the collaborations that will lead to results in that area.
Mr. Victor Asante, who is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of FBN Bank Ghana, has been a Rotarian since 1989 and has served in various positions, including Club President, Assistant Governor and Chairman of some district committees. For GBC News, Ofriwa Dako reporting.
We take you to the Ashanti region, where the Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Seidu-Chum, has reiterated that the technical vocational education and training TVET holds the key to the country's industrialization agenda. The technical sector, he stressed, has witnessed capital injection to put Ghana on a path to accelerated growth and development. Dr. Seidu-Chum was inaugurating a science laboratory for the Kumasi Academy Senior High School at Askori-Mampong.
The project was initiated and financed by the Past Student Association of the Kumasi Academy Senior High at the cost of 9.4 million cedis. The facility is named Akuninin Science Lab because it is a gift from past students who were affectionately called Akuninin. The lab has a dedicated science library to be stocked with contemporary science books and computers with internet connectivity, where students and their teachers can carry out research to enhance teaching and learning. The president of the All Student Association, Dr. Kwabena Dapasia Kwan, said they would set up a fund to maintain the beauty of the facility throughout its lifespan. The headmaster of the school, Mr. Samuel Kwame Gato, appealed to government to help expand the school's dining hall to accommodate the ever-increasing student population. The Ashanti Regional Minister, Mr. Simon Osei Mensah, appealed to the students to be disciplined and take their lessons seriously. The Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Osei Edichum, disclosed government's plan to adopt the school as a TVET center and resource it to meet the demands of students.
All the schools across the country will be looking at your example of an old students association that puts up a top-level 21st century STEM center, science laboratory. Because you see, they added the robotics and everything. So this is not your regular science lab. You actually have done 21st century STEM lab.
Residents of Akropom and Edubrim in the Lembele district in the Western region who were displaced by a rainstorm last week have received relief items worth 250,000 Ghana cedis.
About 2 weeks ago, a rainstorm ravaged two farming communities, Akropom and Edubrim in the Lembele district. Roofs were ripped off while mud and thatched houses were destroyed. The victims wrung their hands, calling on several organizations and individuals for help. In response to their appeal, Memphis Metropolitan Construction has presented 500 bags of cement, 150 bags of rice, 1,000 pieces of roofing sheets, and some food items to the affected communities. The Lembele District Chief Executive, Mr. Kwesi Bonzo, said the assembly was in talks with the Ghana Red Cross Society and the UNHCR to provide temporary shelter for over 300 displaced persons, while efforts were underway to relocate the people. The Western Regional Minister, Mr. Kwabena Dakumensan, received the items on behalf of the people and said the Regional Coordinating Council would support the relocation process. He advised the people to embrace the relocation in their own interest.
All the crop compensation will be taken care of because half of the land the chiefs are giving it to us. The Business Assembly is also going to help mobilize support so we can get all the infrastructure in place in the area in terms of roads, in terms of lighting and the like. We are also bringing borehole to the place so immediately they start setting up, they can work.
The operations officer of Memphis Metropolitan Construction, Mr. Sefas Kafui, said the company, which has undertaken various road projects in the Western region, including the Nzema area, felt obliged to give back to society, particularly victims of the rainstorm.
And now we need your support for some persons in need. 28-year-old Tufik Suleimana is appealing to the public for 20,000 Ghana cedis for the final surgery to correct a medical condition doctors at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital diagnosed as craniocervical tumor. The disease paralyzed his whole body, so he cannot move, stand, or use his hands.
This was Tufik a little over a year ago when GBC News made public his condition. He was totally paralyzed. He could not walk or touch. A condition doctors at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital diagnosed as craniocervical tumor. This is Tufik Suleimana after the craniocervical tumor treatment. He was all smiles when he visited the newsroom to thank the public service broadcaster, GBC, for helping to give him a new lease of life, and also the public who contributed in cash and morally towards his rehabilitation. The Deputy Director for Television and Head of News at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Ms. Akushika Akwe, on behalf of GBC, thanked the public and all who contributed to the well-being of Tufik Suleimana.
Yes, I remember some months ago, it almost seems like about a year probably, that we came in contact with Tufik. His story was told to us by a colleague, and it was a very sad thing to see. But for most of us in the TV newsroom, it is very heartwarming and encouraging to see him, smiling, because the very first video was of him crying, crying for help. But as a public service broadcaster, we used our platform to give a voice to the hitherto voiceless, to amplify his tears to the public who have responded. And today, seeing him walk, it's for us, it's a project in process. We are not done yet, and we are hoping that with continued support from the public, this will be a complete success story and a successful project that we have undertaken.
The situation of Tufik Sulemana currently has improved significantly, but doctors hope to do more for complete recovery. For example, to be able to use his hands effectively.
I have nothing to say to thank God and then to thank each and everyone again that came to my aid. Further investigation while there at the Kolebun Teaching Hospital also saw that I had some of the tumor in my brain stem. They felt I need to undergo another surgery to remove those found in the brain.
Kindly support to fix further treatment by donating to Momo number 0541 211588. Reporting for GBC News, Gifty J, Accra.
He attended a political party gathering Hill and Hattie. Unfortunately, he went back home hurt as a result of an accident. The story of a 64-year-old farmer, Kweku Hakim, at Eduakrom in the Ejumaku Enyan, Isiam district of the Central Region. It's been 6 years now since Kweku Hakim got the accident. The father of 9 lost his wife a month ago and has been left to his fate and is now a burden to family. Kweku Hakim is appealing to philanthropists and organizations for financial support to seek for medical attention.
6 years ago, he was involved in a motor accident. Instead of taking him to the hospital, Kweku Hakim claims he was rather dumped in his home. For lack of funds, Kweku Hakim first resorted to herbal treatment, but when his situation got worse, he was compelled to go to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, where after examination he was told he needed 9,000 Ghana cedis for treatment.
The hospital,
a month ago, the district pastor of the Church of Pentecost, Joel Bedem, and his executives came to his aid with this pair of crutches to give him some mobility.
So the situation at TNT, here say, Yabenya Moa, I was a car firm, Nanka Yedeno, Ako, Ereshabia, your hospital. So I heard no ama was in the dead them.
Now he relies on the benevolence of his sisters and 17-year-old son, Bismarck Awotwe Buafo, for support as he buried his wife a week before our visit.
I wish that one day my father will be strong. I want the public to help my father by taking him to the hospital or helping him financially.
Kweku Hakim believes that with financial assistance, doctors can help improve upon his health and he can go back to farming to support himself and his children. Donations to Kweku Hakim can be sent to MTN Momo number 024-690-6239 in the name of Joel Bedin. Peggy Amadonko reporting.
And 36-year-old Priscilla Asante Bamfo is appealing for an amount of $60,000 to enable her undergo a kidney transplant in India. Diagnosed with end-stage kidney disease 6 months ago, Priscilla says doctors at the renal department are optimistic that a kidney transplant will enable her live a normal life. As an early childhood development teacher, her dream has always been to support young children and also raise children of her own in the future.
36-year-old Priscilla Asante Bamfo was diagnosed of end-stage kidney disease in January 2022. after suffering consistent history of high blood pressure, dizziness and headaches. Priscilla has been on medication to manage her blood pressure in the last 6 years, but she keeps recording high numbers for her BP, sometimes as high as 200/90. She's currently on dialysis, a procedure she spends over 1,000 Ghana cedis weekly, excluding expensive drugs that is meant to boost her blood levels. She tells GBC News that life has been extremely difficult, especially losing both parents not too long ago. To help manage her condition, Priscilla says she has used all her life savings as an early childhood development teacher and also sold properties her parents left behind for her treatment. She now depends on the benevolence of friends and relatives to survive.
End-stage kidney disease is very uncomfortable and very painful, especially when you are out of the hospital. When you are admitted, they do it on your thigh for you, and when you are being discharged, they bring it to your neck, so it's called neckline, and this catches infections so easily. So anytime I go on dialysis and the air condition is on, I get chills, and when the chills starts, my bones begin to hurt so badly that I can fall sick for like 2 days before I can recover again. And by the time I recover again, my dialysis time is up again. So I go through that most of the time, and it's so painful.
According to Priscilla, a relative is willing to donate a kidney, but what is left is money for the surgery scheduled for India and is estimated at $60,000.
I have a family member who is willing to donate his kidney, but then again, I have to raise funds to support the transplant. So I'm urging all Ghanaians to help me raise funds for my transplant, and then God will bless all of you immensely.
Kindly support Priscilla Asante Banfo by donating to MTN Momo account number 0244 96 9540 0244 96 9540 0244 96 9540, registered in the name of Priscilla Asante Banfo. Kindly donate to this worthy cause. Reporting for GBC News, Gifty AJ, Accra.
And no contribution will be deemed too small. The Private Newspaper Publishers Association of Ghana, PRIMPAG, will elect new officers on Friday, August 12, 2022, to manage its activities from 2022 to 2025. An election committee made up of Mr. Ben Asoro, managing editor of the Catholic Standard, as chairman, Mr. Jemfi Boateng, former editor, Christian Messenger, and Mr. Desmond Darko of the Catalyst newspaper as members has been formed. Kenteman Ni Lai Soa serves as the secretary to the committee. The committee says both the elections and declaration of results will be held on Friday, August 12, 2022. Picking of nomination forms and filing of same is from Monday, July 4, 2022 to Friday, July 15, 2022. Nomination fees for all positions across board is 300 Ghana cedis. According to a press statement, deadline for the payment of dues by all members is Friday, July 29, 2022. Publication of a list of candidates and eligible voters will be published in selected newspapers on Monday, August 1, 2022. Filing of nominations will be held on Tuesday, August 2, 2022, with vetting of all aspiring candidates taking place on Thursday, August 4, 2022, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We go for a quick break. We will be back shortly. Please stay.
We use culture to educate the people. We use music to inform the people. We use arts also to inform the people. So these three things in combination brings knowledge to the people.
Direction of the video, the picture quality of the video, even the location of the video is not good. It will have a negative impact on the song.
So yes, there are musicians who are doing well, and there are majority to who are not. They are just doing it anyhow. You don't tell different story with your choreography and then another story with your lyrics. They should all aim at giving the same message.
Watch and get in-depth understanding about the role of arts, crafts and culture in music on this channel.
Welcome to the business segment. The 2022 Mid-Year Budget Review, expected to be presented in Parliament on Wednesday, July 13, 2022, has been pushed to July 27, 2022. The postponement of the Mid-Year Budget Review and supplementary estimates for the 2022 financial year is due to the ongoing negotiations between the government and the IMF, which kicked off last week.
Government was not sure about seeking IMF support a couple of weeks ago, but found its hands were tied after lawmakers stalled a $1 billion loan, an unpopular electronic payment tax meant to generate revenue, failing to live up to expectation. Some analysts say though it is too early to conclude that the e-levy is underperforming, but there are fears that the debt-to-GDP ratio, which the IMF reported that in April it has crossed 81% mark, gives cause for concern. Food and fuel prices have jumped significantly, with inflation for May 2022 pegged at 27.23%, mainly driven by headwinds from the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February this year. Demand for cost of living allowances by organized labor has been mounting, and analysts say this development deserves to be given the needed attention before government concludes negotiations with the Bretton Woods institution for support. Though government is yet to come up with how much it will secure from the IMF as balance of payment support, some analysts say between $1.5 to $3 billion will be needed urgently to shore up Ghana's gross international reserve, which as of April 2022 stood at $8.3 billion as against $9.7 billion in December 2021, which is equivalent to 3.7 months import cover. The dip in reserve has impacted negatively on the value of the local currency, with the cedi losing about 20% of its strength against the dollar in the first half of 2022 due to capital flight, debt servicing, that's exacerbating food and fuel prices. Ghana joined a league of 107 countries that have run to the IMF for assistance. These include Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Rwanda, Kenya, Senegal, Tunisia, Egypt, Mozambique, Zambia, Morocco, Madagascar, Guinea, Gabon, Chad, among others. Edward Nyakun, reporting for GBC News.
The Africa Growth Recovery story has been impressive despite the threat posed by COVID-19, food and fuel price hikes exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine crisis. However, panelists at a virtual conference held by the African Union, including the AU Commissioner for Trade and Industry, Albert Muchanga, expressed concern about how to sustain the growth momentum on the continent and attract investment into the domain of the private sector, especially SMEs, to promote inclusive growth.
Africa is unable to really get a fair share of investment funds around the world. Experts tell us that around the world, each given year, there's close to $279 trillion available for investment around the world, and Africa gets about $48 billion. That is far inadequate, and we are working with the OECD to come up with an investment investment observatory which is aimed at assisting a lot of African countries become investment ready so that they are able to mobilize resources.
We know that one of the big challenges facing development in Africa in the past has been the cyclicality of growth. You can never take particularly strong growth for granted. It's tended to be accompanied by commodity cycles. And when we look at the experience of countries that were able to develop successfully, that were able to industrialize with great success, one key feature stands out, and that is they were able to enjoy sustained growth over a longer period of time.
To this day, I still believe that signing the African Growth and Opportunity Act was one of the most important things I did as president. AGOA created new market opportunities and drove up both trade volumes and economic diversification efforts all across the continent, ushering in a period of remarkable and unprecedented economic growth. New jobs were created. The export competitiveness of many African products increased, and the region became a recognized and reliable supplier. Of course, the political and economic landscape of Africa has transformed in countless ways in the nearly quarter century since AGOA was launched. The continent has the youngest and fastest growing population anywhere on Earth. By 2050, 1 of every 4 people on our planet will be African.
And in the United States, the euro hovered close to parity with the US dollar on Tuesday as the eurozone's energy supply crisis and economic woes continue to depress the common currency. The euro was trading 0.3% lower, around $1.7 on Tuesday morning. Fears of a recession have grown in recent weeks due to rising uncertainty over the bloc's energy supply, with Russia threatening to further reduce gas flows to Germany and the broader continent. The prospect of a starker economic slowdown has also cast doubt over whether the European Central Bank will be able to tighten monetary policy aggressively enough to rein in record high inflation without deepening the economic pain. Analysts say the ECB is in a very, very difficult position, with some arguing that the ECB has been rather late to the party, both in terms of ending their bond purchases, but also considering monetary policy tightening.